Howdy, howdy, and welcome back. It's our first Workshop Wednesday officially to the new year, for the new year. So happy new year, everybody. Today is the first workshop of the year. It's also the first Workshop Wednesday of the month, which means it's a What's New workshop where we go back over the last 30 days and we figure out what the updates were for Google Analytics, Tag Manager, Data Studio, etc. Before we go too far, of course, my name is Chris Mercer. Everybody calls me Mercer. My friends call me Mercer. You should also call me Mercer. I am the co-founder of MeasurementMarketing.io, and whether you found us through podcasts and talks that we give, maybe through some of the platforms that we share some of our content with, like CXL Institute or Digital Marketer, Social Media Examiner, Measure Summit, and countless others, maybe you are already an existing member over at MeasurementMarketing.io. Remember, we've got two memberships. There is a free level. That is the Toolbox membership. And of course, we have the Measurement Marketing Academy. However, you found us. Welcome. We are happy that you are here. It's our job to help people like you learn all this crazy stuff. Basically, figure out what our numbers are and ultimately how to grow our numbers using, things like Google Analytics and Tag Manager, etc. Now, how do we do that? We do that with the framework. Always, always, always the framework. Make sure you are practicing this. This is your big New Year's resolution. If you haven't yet done so, planning is the first step. You have to plan. You got to think about what questions you're trying to answer, what information will you need to get those answers, ultimately what actions will you take based on those answers. Then you do your build out where Tag Manager and Analytics and all that fun stuff come into play. Then you do reports where it's spreadsheets, maybe it's built-in reports like Google Analytics or the analysis reports in Google Analytics 4. But more than likely, it's probably Data Studio kicking in here. Then it's forecasting, where you've got your benchmarks. You can start to predict what your near future is going to look like based on your previous performance. And ultimately, you measure against your forecast, which is the optimizing. That's the fun part. That's the thing that everybody's trying to do all the time. But that is so much easier when you do these other steps, because then you'll very quickly know what's working and what's not, and where you need to actually put your resources and attention in order to improve things. Now, with all of these workshops, we ask that you just focus on one new thing, one new concept. Maybe it's seeing something a different way. Maybe it's just, in this case, finding a new feature that you might find useful, and you go practice it. Then you come back, rewatch this workshop. That's why we keep them up here, so that you can pick up another new one thing, practice that, and that is how we build skills without getting overwhelmed and frustrated by everything that these tools have to offer. So with that, let's go ahead and officially get underway. What's new? The December 2020 updates. All right, we're going to go ahead and dive right in as we often do. And I'm going to pull up first Tag Manager. Now, I will briefly talk about one thing that I wanted to make apparent. This is kind of a break with tradition. It's just a tiny bit. But I wanted to make sure that occasionally we talk about this in the template section. I currently don't have a really quick, easy way to figure out what the new stuff is or the new updates or whatever back here. But I want you, if you're using Tag Manager, occasionally you need to force yourself, whether that's, and force is a strong word, I get that. You need to encourage yourself. Maybe it's an Asana task. I have a lot of Asana tasks that are like recurring tasks once a month to go in here and take a look and see what's new. So go into the template section. If you haven't been there for a while, click on Search Gallery and get familiar with what is back here, because this changes all the time. I'll tell you a little cheat that I use all the time. I look at this little scroll bar that's right here, and I'm always like, is this scroll bar getting smaller and smaller when it loads up? Because that means there's more stuff back here. That doesn't mean that you always need to, use this just because Acquire came out here. It doesn't matter. If you don't use that system, you're not going to be able to use this, right? However, coming through here to scroll to see, okay, what's back here now? Who's doing what? Maybe there's a platform that you now work with. For example, maybe when you first came back here, you didn't see Shopify, right? But maybe there's some Shopify stuff, right? That might be back here. Currently, I don't see anything. Doesn't mean there won't be tomorrow. I know there was some stuff that Simo's constantly playing around with. Simo Ahava, who's a name you should definitely follow. We'll talk about him momentarily. But you can see how much stuff is back here. And the whole point of this is, even though I can't quite say, oh, well, these are the 7 updates that happen in these templates, they're updated all the time, and there's always new stuff coming out, like the YouTube iframe API loader. You might need this. It might be useful to you. It may not be, right? But this is perfect for lazy loading YouTube videos, which are great for site speed, horrible for measurement. So this helps with some of that stuff, and maybe that solves some problems for you. Again, no guarantees, but the whole point is come back here and be aware of this. Now, equally as important as this tag templates, which is what you use a lot, are variable templates. So variable templates, you can come back here. These also change. Again, notice the size of the scroll bar right here, right? So the scroll bar is quite a bit bigger. It's not as much back here. However, again, if I was like, oh, well, I use Shopify. I wonder if there's anything for Shopify. Oh, look at that. There's a Shopify, variables that might be what I need. And I can now, instead of having to custom code a bunch of Shopify stuff, maybe I just use this variable and it pulls everything for me and I don't have to worry about it. Again, no guarantees, but at least you know it's back here. And this reminder, so What's New Workshop, take this as your opportunity to go, you know what? I haven't been back there for a little while. Just spend a couple of minutes to see what's back there because it could be something that's useful for you. Now, that said, the deep dive part of it is Simo's thing, right? So Simo Ahava, if you do not follow Simo Ahava and you are at all serious about being an expert in Tag Manager, Simo Ahava has to be on your list. He probably already is. Doesn't take very long to find out about who this guy is. I've learned a ton from him, and he's fantastic at what he does. And he is going deep into server-side GTM tagging, which of course is the kind of the new kid on the block for Tag Manager. It's the new way of doing Tag Manager. Now, for most people watching this workshop, it's probably not something you're going to if for a while, if at all, because it costs money, number one, and it is unbelievably complicated. And if you're super technical and you're a developer, okay, maybe. But for the vast majority of people that measurementmarketing.io teaches and works with, small business owners, tagging, server-side tagging is way beyond what you need. You don't need it. And it is incredibly complicated, at least right now. That doesn't mean it's always going to be like that, but it's brand new. So if you want to stay up to date with the brand new stuff, including, this is the change from December, this container client for server-side tagging, what will happen, and this always happens with Google, they first announce it, they first release something, it's unbelievably techy and geeky and hard to wrap itself around because it was made by engineers for engineers. And then those engineers start using it and they use it more and they use it more. And then the user-focused teams come in and they start making these tools easier and easier to use. That is already happening with server-side tagging with this little container client. So this is good for me. I look at this and say, hey, I don't use this tool yet. I don't need to use this tool for my company. And you probably don't have to for yours yet. Enterprises, for sure, will. Large, gigantic companies, yes, they need something like this. You probably don't as a small business owner. However, be aware that this is a thing. If you are an expert in Tag Manager, you want to improve your expert, be really specialized in Tag Manager, for sure, be sure you watch Simo, stay up to date, join his newsletter list. Simo's going to be amazing. I'm a part of it. And then keep up to date on what server-side tagging is, because that's going to be a skill you're going to want to use. But again, as a small business owner, probably not. But I wanted to make sure you knew it was an update that's coming through. And I would expect that server-side Tag Manager will become easier to use as the months go by, this year goes by, certainly, because this is what normal Google does. They get it really geeky and kind of hard to use in the beginning, but then it gets easier and easier and easier and more accessible. So that's a really good thing. Speaking of more accessible and a little easier to use, Google Analytics. So that was kind of it for the Tag Manager stuff. Google Analytics had a couple of updates. Now remember, for the most part, I don't expect any more updates to Universal Analytics, which is the analytics you're probably using on a daily basis. The Universal Analytics is the analytics we currently use on a daily basis. The way I still think about this is Universal Analytics is the analytics of today, right? The original one. And when I mean universal, I mean when you come in here and you see the 3 columns, right? So you got the 3 columns, property, view, and account. That's universal. You know it's universal because it says little UA dash. That's how you know you're looking at universal. So this is probably the one you're using, right? It's the normal analytics for most of us. This is the one I'll be using for a long while, for the rest of this year, probably early into next year. However, you do need to start playing with Google Analytics 4 and getting used to it, because Google Analytics 4, while it is not the analytics of today, it is absolutely the analytics of tomorrow. So you take some time to practice this. Again, we've got Google Analytics 4 Basics already in the members area for those that need that. We have that. When it comes to the updates, where Google as a company is dedicating its resources, it's putting its resources to Google Analytics 4, not to Universal Analytics, which is another reason why, hey, you know what? This is where they're headed. So let's go ahead and start practicing now, right? Get those skills set up. So make sure, again, New Year's resolution, if you haven't done that, this is the time. So, all right. So that's Google Analytics 4 and kind of between that and Universal Analytics. When I mentioned earlier about making things easier and more accessible, that's what they did recently with BigQuery linking. Now, BigQuery is a big database where you store stuff, and you can basically link Google Analytics into a BigQuery account. It used to be a little more technical. You needed Firebase and everything else. You can see here, we've not hooked that up. You probably don't have to have this hooked up right away, but eventually you will. And they're making this easier and easier. And essentially the trend is this. Instead of relying on Google to hold all of your data, or Facebook to hold all of your data, or whoever to hold all of your data, you as a company will start collecting and holding your own data and being responsible to to measure your own data and to store and to manage your own data in your own ways. BigQuery is how you're going to do that, and Google Analytics 4 was built for that. So it was a little more complicated to add in a BigQuery link into Firebase, whatever else. Now you don't really have to do that as much. So they're making this more accessible. That was a big change for December. So if you are already expert with BigQuery or use that, probably revisit Google Analytics 4 right now because it's something useful you might want to hook up. We eventually will do this, but I don't expect, honestly, for us as a company to worry about this for another 6 months or so. We'll obviously do a little bit with teaching it and helping people get some beginner steps, but for using it for real will be a while because we have to learn it. Right? We're small business owners too. So we're not BigQuery experts. It's a skill we'll learn. We just don't have to do it today. Remember, when you're learning stuff, it's not about learning every possible thing that exists because you'll just end up being overwhelmed and frustrated and you won't actually take any meaningful action. You'll just know a lot about a little bit. So instead, we're going to focus on what we really need to focus on, which is, let's learn Google Analytics 4 basics and eventually we'll get to BigQuery. But it is a new December update, this BigQuery linking and the fact to make it a little bit easier for you to do. So if you're ready for that, know that that is now there. Now, the other thing, and this is something that we will start playing with as well, in your data streams. This is the other update that comes through. Remember, we have data streams in Google Analytics 4. And remember, if you haven't set this stuff up, it's okay if it doesn't make sense right now because I know all these terms are new. But we've got Google Analytics 4 basics. If you need to go learn that stuff, you can. In your Google Analytics 4, when you come into more tagging settings, and this is the spot I would watch because I think they're going to put much more things back here. I would imagine with time, they'll have more options. It's what will all show up. In December, now they've been talking about this for a while. In fact, the Google Docs said that they had modify and create events forever, but they never really did it. But now in December, it was released. It was actually live. So you might not have noticed these are there now. So what this is like, and I emphasize the word like, not exactly, but kind of, it's kind of satisfies what filters used to do in Universal Analytics, because there are no filters really, not like we, like in Universal Analytics, but these kind of do that, where you take an existing event coming in and then you can create a modification to that event. So if the event equals this, then change it to that. Kind of like filters, where we used to do like combining traffic filters or, changing something coming in, you can adjust that. Then you can also create new events. So you can actually use the platform itself to create an event that doesn't exist. So upon a certain condition, if this is true and this is true and this is true, then fire this event, right? Create an event. So the platform itself can create events for itself that you can do on your own without having to rely on something like Tag Manager. So know that those two things are now back here. They might solve a problem for you, right? We're still going to really focus on Tag Manager, and what we're really focusing on is first quarter as we perfect our own usage of Google Analytics 4. It's thinking about data structure and this world of flat data that now exists. We talked about this in a previous workshop where we talked about the 2021 trends that are coming to digital marketing and this idea of flat data. And there is no hierarchy anymore, and it's just an event's an event's an event, and the events have details, and there's no more important event than another event. They're just a bunch of events. How do you organize something like that? That's flat data. So we're going to really focus on that first. And then I expect modify and create. The way you would use these is if something went wrong in the tagging side, or if somebody else set something up in a way you didn't want it, you could modify it then for your own instance. Or of course you can create an event if you can't get access to a tag manager or something like that to do it there, which I always assume tag manager would be the best way to do it. However, sometimes you don't have access to that. So if you're in analytics, you can now create your own events. I think it's great. I think it's a really, really cool thing that they've got back here. So know that those are here. Those are the really big changes for Google Analytics 4 and the updates that came out in December of 2020. Finally, Data Studio, our old friend Data Studio. There were two things that were really announced. One of them's it was announced, but it's not really that big a deal. It's the idea that you can create a Google Analytics 4. You can link Google Analytics 4 now. Now, some of you might be like, well, you could be doing that for a while, which you could. Technically that came out in like September, I think it was, where they announced that you could do it, but it was in beta. So you would come in here, and before Google Analytics 4 wouldn't show up. Now your Google Analytics 4s do. Again, you can tell the difference because it says GA4 here. This one say UA, so that's Universal Analytics. So you can connect into GA4 and you can make it a data source. The difference is, with the big change for December, was now it's out of beta officially. So they've basically said, okay, we've kind of polished our connectors. Things seem to be working well. So you can do user properties, custom dimensions, or excuse me, not custom dimensions, but user properties and the event details coming through. So you can set all that stuff up now in Data Studio. So that's something, again, if you haven't done that yet, you now can. And if you've used that as an excuse to maybe not get into GA4 because it didn't connect to Data Studio, well, it has for a little while. Now it really is. It's officially out of beta. So that connector's done. Next, The other thing with Data Studio that changed was reference lines. Now, I really like the idea of reference lines because I love forecasting. I am a control freak. I'll just admit it. I'll admit it to you. We're friends. I'm a control freak. I hate the idea of being out of control. I want to have control. And specifically, I would like to have control of the future. So I always want to know what's happening next week. What was the goal? What are we trying to get to? Where are we pointing? Where are we striving? And I'm always doing that with my team and always asking those questions. I'm always forecasting. And reference lines are a great way to forecast, to say it gives your data context. Like, is this a really good number? Like this bar, is this a really good value of 400? I don't know. It's great if these are the reference lines, right? But if the reference lines are way above here, then obviously that's not a good number. So that's why reference lines are so important. They help give the data context. It gives it story. So you understand, okay, it turns information into a story. That's what it really does. This idea of forecasting and having goals. Reference lines give you that control. So what's really nice about reference lines is they have gone from, and I'm going to edit this really quickly just to kind of show you here. Again, not a lesson on Data Studio, but just to show you this new section or the new updates. So I'm in the table. You go to Style, and this is where you have these reference lines that are right down here on your Style section. And what it used to be versus what it is now. So if I go here, let me find it. There we go, reference lines. Okay, so it used to be just this like constant value. That's all you had. Well, now they started engaging a little more. And this came out a little while back. A few months back, they started, we've got metrics. You can base it on parameters now. So you can change some things. But what they've really started doing is changing these calculations. So now this all was there, the average, median, percent, minimum. Now you can do totals as well. So you can start to see reference lines adjust based on total of all of these. Here's the total of all of these kind of combined together. That's how that shows. So you can use your reference lines to automatically adjust to the data they are displaying, which makes them a whole lot more useful. So especially when you have any sort of trending chart like this, right? Because you want to see, is this a good thing or not? Is this where I want to be or is it not where I want to be? It's really useful for all of that. So I want to make sure you knew about that. That was also a December update from Data Studio. So really it was that one and the fact that the GA4 connector is officially out of beta. All right. And with that, pretty much it. What was your one thing? For me, it's that Google Analytics 4 is constantly getting more accessible, as is the server-side GTM tagging. That's what I'm really looking at. I know for Julie on our team, Julie is in Data Studio all the time. She's a phenomenal Data Studio rock star, and she's constantly doing cool reports for us. So for her, it's probably the reference lines and, oh, cool, I get to play with this and, build some reports out. So for whatever your situation is, figure your one thing that you go, that was a cool feature, and go practice it. Go play around with it. Go learn a little bit more, but ride the bike a little bit. Get some skills under your belt. Don't just be exposed to this information. Practice it, because that's what actually builds your skills. And then, of course, once you're done that, come back, rewatch this, you'll pick up another new thing after that. Now, if you like workshops like this, if you are new to Workshop Wednesday, of course, love having you here. Thank you for being here. But if you like workshops like this, or if you know somebody else that would like workshops like this, bring in your team members, bring in your peers, your friends, people that you think this would be interesting. Next week's workshop is all about getting started with Google Analytics 4. It is a getting started topic, so it is made for those of you who are beginners. So we're going to kind of go through the beginning stages of getting your Google Analytics 4 account set up, which will actually involve Google Analytics 4 and Tag Manager a little bit, but we're going to keep it baby steps because it's a getting started topic. So if you want to see that workshop, if you are not already, this is the time. Make sure you get notified when we go live. You'll get a nice little email that says, hey, they're broadcasting. I know many of you already get that, so thank you for being here. And of course, there is another way, and that is becoming the Measurement Marketing Toolbox member. It is a free membership. Workshop Wednesday is kind of what we're doing now, but you also get access to all these tools. So the Measurement Marketing Toolbox gives you access to all of that. It's completely free. It's our way of giving back to the community. You just need to activate it. Go to measure.tip/WW. It'll take you to the page. Name and email. That's it. And then you sign up. It'll send you the login to the password or your password so that you can log in. And of course, you'll have access to all of those. Next, if you are not yet a member of the Measurement Marketing Academy and you are really serious about building your skills and having a community that is there to help you out, as well as instructors that are there to help you out, and you want connection with instructors like myself, like Julie from our team and others, measure.tip/getacademy will be able to get you started there. It gives you access to all the courses and everything else. Now, when I spoke last week, I actually did this workshop last week for, well, not this exact one, obviously, but the 2021 one that we did. And I said, hey, there's a new member site coming out. I did it. I didn't do anything. The team did it. The team's amazing. We have an amazing team. So this is the new members area. And I mentioned, I kind of get a quick little brief tour of the prototype that we were working on last week, but it's live. This is it. So when you log in now, all of you that are members, you probably already know this because you're watching this logged in with this new members area going, whoa, they did it. But we've got the new members area. Now, as an Academy member, you have access to the Win courses. So this looks here, and you can see all your different courses that are organized by date when they come out. We're actually going to be updating Win Google Tag Manager Basics starting next week. So stay tuned for your invites because there's a live training for members only that you can access that we'll be doing for that. Or you can do it by topic, right? Here's all the analytics stuff, and including the one we talked about with Win Google Analytics 4 Basics. Slightly different design, right? But all the lessons and components are in there. So you'll have access to everything in the Win courses. So again, Google Analytics, Tag Manager, Data Studio, like all that fun stuff is all back here. That's just the Win courses. The other thing that you have as an Academy member is on-demand workshops. So of course, Workshop Wednesday. Now Toolbox members, as a free Toolbox member, you still have access to this Workshop Wednesday. So you can come in and you can see the workshops as they're coming through. Then you have the different workshops. For the Academy members, you have access to all of these workshops now, the on-demand workshop library that you can go through here and see all the past workshops that we've done, of course, organized by topic. What's new, the getting started, the beyond basics, or the strategy sessions. You also, as an Academy member, have the Ask Instructor support where you can it goes to our instructors. You can literally send over screenshots and videos. We send back screenshots and videos back to you and help you get unstuck and on the way. Something, if it's technical, we'll do our best to help you out, make sure we can get that goal firing the way you want it to. We also do the same thing when it comes to strategy. So if you just want to send us over your site, and we have a lot of people that do this. I love this. Send us over your site and they're like, well, I'm not even sure what a goal should be. Or, here's my dashboard. What do you think? What should I do next? Like, we can help you out with that stuff. And we love doing that. So make sure you use that. Ask Instructor support. Winner Circle kind of looks like this. This is our Winner Circle update. You got a nice little stream coming through. Lots of people in different groups that are coming through as well. So again, this is brand new. Literally, this is probably 30 hours old right now as we pushed it through. So we're starting to get some people back there coming in, which is awesome. And then, of course, you've got the toolbox. So the toolbox itself, this is also something free for Toolbox members. You would still have access to this as well as Workshop Wednesday. But of course, Academy members have access to this as well. These are all the different tools that we talk about. Optimization pipeline. For those of you with Tag Manager, Google Tag Manager Cookbook is a good one to practice and play around with. Report card for auditing. There's the traffic tracking toolkit. If you're a business owner, Measure Boss Power Planner would be amazing for you. So you can use that sort of stuff. And of course, organized by topic. All of this, right? Part of the Academy. And the only difference between the Academy and the Toolbox membership is the Toolbox membership gives you the Workshop Wednesday part of this. You don't get access to all the workshops, but you do get access to that Workshop Wednesday. And then you've got the Toolbox. So basically these kind of middle two that are there. The Academy gives you all the courses, all the on-demand workshops, and of course the ability to search, when you say, oh, I'm going to look for goals or whatever it is. You can come in here, you can search for something, and you'll see all of the different parts of the website of the members area that go for that. So here's different workshops we've created that talk about goals and different things that might relate to creating goals. These are individual workshops you'd have access to as an Academy member. Win courses, of course, that relate to the goals, the lessons that relate to them. So lots of cool things that are back here for you to take a look at. And again, kudos to my team. It was not an easy thing for them to do. So I just want to kind of publicly congratulate them for getting this thing live. And we are always tweaking and updating stuff. By the way, those of you who are already members back here, if you notice anything that needs to be adjusted or tweaked or something that doesn't quite look right, just go into your manage account section. And in your manage account section, there will be a place where you can get account support. And that's where you can ask us. So go into the account support section and, just click that little button. It'll pop up our widget. And then you can, let us know kind of what's going on and we can get stuff adjusted and fixed just in case something tweaked. Because, it's a migration. It's a big deal to move this whole thing. So there might be a few things here or there. But by and large, again, the team did a fantastic job. So thank you, measurementmarketing.io team. You all rock. You are outstanding. And I know everyone's been putting in a lot of effort. I was awake almost a full 24 hours yesterday getting this thing up and running. And it's been an adventure. So thank you, everybody, for pulling together and getting this thing live. And, of course, we'd love member feedback. So if you have any questions or feedback as a member, just, again, use that support channel in the Manage account. And, of course, if you are an Academy member and you have questions about how to do something with Academy, use the Ask Instructor support system because it's a completely separate system built just for you. And I'll just kind of show you. It looks something similar to this, where you can actually organize all your questions and keep them kind of a little record of all the stuff that you're getting back from your instructors. So you can favorite them and sort them and everything else. So it's a really cool thing for you to have access to, which is why keep all of that stuff in the Ask Instructor. Anything with the account or the member site related, keep it over here with Manage Account. All right. So with that, officially, let's go ahead and bring this one to a close. Thanks again for those of you who watched this first workshop of 2021. It's a pleasure having you here. Thanks again for joining us for Workshop Wednesday. And thanks for watching What's New, the December 2020 updates. Appreciate you watching this workshop, and we will see you on the next one. Take care.